Another spooky planet, another doomed space crew. In Ghost Station, that's the book I'm reviewing on this episode of SFF180. Hello again, everyone. Thomas here, your host as always. Thank you so much for joining me. Ghost Station, S.A. Barnes' follow-up to Dead Silence, feels very much like she's taking the same general formula out for a second date, because the first one seemed promising. Again, we have a space crew on its way to a spooky destination, a not entirely reliable viewpoint character with unresolved family issues, and a future dominated by the usual evil corporations who value anything and everything as long as it isn't human life. I'm not saying this is a bad collection of tropes to latch onto, but it does take some banger storytelling if you want audiences not to care about the cliches. Ghost Station is, I am very happy to report, better in its storytelling than Dead Silence. Barnes has gotten a lot smarter about following the rules that she sets, and there are no inexplicable time jumps or similar nonsense. Overall, the effect ends up being closer to suspense thriller than deep space horror, but there are some good eerie ideas introduced, even if some of them are left not fully realized. And we get some really good gore, which can make up for a lot. Our heroine is Ophelia Bray, clinical psychologist and black sheep of the zillionaire Bray family, owners of the megacorp Pinnacle. Now, in Barnes' future, the universe has been teeming with advanced life, but so far, only ruined and abandoned civilizations have been found. Now, if Barnes does one thing in this book that shows a leveled-up sophistication as a science fiction writer, it's the way her world-building takes inspiration from fun old ideas like the Fermi paradox and the Great Filter. And there were aspects of this story that made me feel like I was in Jack McDevitt territory, which is a good thing. The question of why humanity has only found dead alien cities haunts the backstory here, as does one other sketchy little problem plaguing human crews on deep space missions. A bizarre psychosis called Eckhart-Reiser syndrome appears to strike space travelers at random. Now, in its worst instances, it can turn a person into a crazed murder machine, as in a deeply infamous case involving 29 victims that Ophelia has closer links to than she's willing to let on. To assuage her guilt, she's taken a job with her family's chief corporate rival, Montrose, but her own reputation has been tarnished by the suicide of one of her patients. In a desperate move, she's gotten herself assigned to the crew of the Resilience, a research vessel bound for the planet Lyria 393c, the rights to which have recently been sold to Montrose by Pinnacle. Her idea is to have a psychologist present to diagnose and study any possible case of ERS as it happens, rather than waiting for the crew to return to Earth. But Ophelia's own family warns her that Montrose is probably just hoping to get rid of her, and using her for plausible deniability. And as for the crew themselves, they've already lost one member, and are not exactly going to welcome her warmly. What follows is never quite what I would call scary, although scary is an odometer on which everyone's mileage varies. But it is impressively tense at times. The action unfolds in a research outpost that our heroes are surprised to find in a hurriedly abandoned state, where the landscape outside is buffeted by endless blizzards, and eerie monolithic alien structures loom nearby. Barnes is not especially subtle about some things. This book has the most hilariously on-the-nose instance of Chekhov's gun you'll ever see. But for the most part, Barnes really does nail the ominous and disorienting mood of being isolated on a distant and unknowably hostile world. Barnes doesn't develop her characters much beyond types. There's the strong and silent captain, the joker, the guy with the chip on his shoulder, the wide-eyed noob, and the hard-ass second-in-command. But Barnes humanizes them well within those types. Once we're on the planet, there are pacing issues, which usually manifest in a feeling that she's holding back when she should be going hard. Barnes prefers a slow burn, which I like to see generally, and we do get a few well-executed scenes of tension in the book's final third, particularly in regards to an alien presence that may or may not still be lingering, that give us the sense that all this build-up was worth it. But the climax of a story like this, even when it's leaving certain mysteries unresolved on purpose, needs to swing for the fences. Fans of deep space horror want to see nothing less than a blood-curdling frenzy of fear, right? The kind of ending that keeps you up late reading and then robs you of your sleep for the rest of the night. And Barnes comes frustratingly close, only to pull back at the crucial moment for a soft landing. Yes, she has improved a great deal since Dead Silence, and considering that she's out here with a passion, writing exactly the kind of books that I keep whining I never see enough of, well, yeah, I admit I can feel like a bit of a jerk being so critical, but take it as an indication of my own passion. Somewhere inside S.A. Barnes, right, like the voices that haunt her characters, there's a voice ready to tell her to get out of her own way, to go as far and as fearlessly as she needs to find the heart of darkness inside her story. And that's all I have time for in this episode of SFF180. Remember, the most important thing, these are reviews. You're not always going to agree with me, but if you enjoyed watching, please slam that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF and horror reading friends. And above all, please subscribe. If you have not done so, that is how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army occasionally get little perks like early access to some of my videos, if I finish them in time, but mostly the purpose of the Patreon is to help me pay Matt Olson, my brilliantly gifted and talented channel artist who does all of my amazing thumbnails and other channel art for me. So that extra help is very much appreciated. And for all the rest of you, I want to thank you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and until I see all of you next time, please stay safe and healthy, and happy reading.